Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Calling out referees' poor VAR decisions and these pointless apologies from the PGMOL may be tiresome, but it's something we as football fans, I truly believe, have to unite over. Tribalism and rivalry must be dropped. I want to take a listen here to a couple of videos and some comments made in the last 24 to 48 hours regarding the debacle that happened between Newcastle United and Arsenal. So make sure you're listening. Hit the like button first, because I think there's some real problems here. But let's take a listen to these videos and look at these takes. Let's do it.
In the second half, I mean, have you ever known a goal like that which had 3 different VAR checks on it?
No, and to be fair, I think at one point I said I'm done because, I mean, we've got 30 cameras in the ground or something like that, and Newcastle have found a way to evade all 30 cameras on all 3 incidents.
Firstly, I know he's only having a laugh, but I don't think it's Newcastle evading it. It makes it tribalistic. It makes it about one versus the other. I don't like that that language isn't right for me, even though I know Gary Neville's just joking.
There was no conclusive evidence that the ball went out. There was obviously maybe conclusive evidence around the Joel Linton one, but even that, it was a bit of a struggle to see it in real time from the angles that we had. And then the offside, we got that through, didn't we, from Stockley Park, that there was no conclusive evidence that when the ball left Joel Linton's body, and did he play it towards, obviously, to Anthony Gordon. They could have proved maybe that Anthony Gordon was in an offside position, but they couldn't prove the essential thing, which is the timing of the last touch on the player. So
this is where it's all nonsense. Not from Gary Neville per se, but this is what's all nonsense about it. Firstly, there is no debates currently on TalkSport, ESPN, Sky Sports, TNT about, hang on, so if there was no conclusive evidence that the ball went out, why did Man United have a goal disallowed against Brighton? The referees, the PGMOL, should be made, and I mean this, made and forced and pressured into releasing a detailed, conclusive statement as to the difference between those two things. And not just one angle, the 2, 3, 4 different camera angles that always do, because obviously we know it's a 3D, the ball's 3D, a 3D sphere, and from different angles it will look in and out. What is the difference between those two things? In terms of no conclusive evidence, there was a push in the back. I think that's nonsense. Yes, Gabriel was ducked down, but he's ducked down because he's very close to his goal. And what he's trying to do is duck down, get under the ball, and head it up and away. He was pushed in the back. And how can they not see when the ball strikes Joe Linton and then, of course, goes to Anthony Gordon? We can all see it. All you've got to do is pause it at the moment the ball hits him, and then you look at where Anthony Gordon was. We know for a fact that both players were beyond the goalkeeper. I don't understand this defense of the decision. Now, I'm not having to go at Newcastle. They've done nothing wrong. But I cannot understand why people are saying it wasn't conclusive. It's obvious.
Can't prove those things, then you end up with a situation where there's no conclusive evidence. And my gut feeling was that they were hanging around on the possible foul quite a lot. And there's an angle where it looks like a foul because Joe Linton's got both his arms out. But that, honestly, that's not a foul for me. You know, Gabriel's throwing himself forward. I've done it sometimes. When the ball's just a bit lower than your body, you go forward to try and flick it on. And that's what Gabriel's tried to do.
Yeah, and he wasn't able to do it because Joe Linton had his hands on the back of him. If Joe Linton doesn't touch Gabriel, Gabriel clears the ball. Listen, I love Gary Neville, and I know he's predicted Arsenal to win the league this year. And sometimes I would look at this and go, this is Arsenal hate. And maybe this is the deep bitterness of Arsenal hate. But I feel like there's something else at play here. And I've been saying it a little bit recently. I almost feel like the media and the TV companies like this. They like to have a little bit of a go at the refs, but they almost like the drama. It makes good television. That's not almost to a degree where, yeah, it's a foul. I'm not going to say it's a foul, though, because it adds to the drama. It's like a Netflix documentary. It's like a reality show almost for them. And the reason I say that is look at some of the comments, including from Gary Neville, from journalists and broadcasters, talking about the statements that are being released, calling Arsenal bad losers. This is Arsenal Football Club coming out, and essentially what they're doing is they are backing their manager. And I think this is the absolute right thing to do. They're backing their manager and saying, look, he's called out these terrible decisions and we're going to back him. And I've been asking for a while for this to happen. Now, it needs to get deeper. It needs to go to an absolute another level. It does, where your club, if your club benefits, you've still got to call it out. But this is the beginning. If Arsenal get a dodgy penalty next week, score a goal that should be offside, score a goal that should be a foul, they need to come out. We need to self-police this. But we can't listen to the media, the mainstream media on this one, because I believe they have an agenda. And I look at some of the people's comments here, Michael Owen, talking about it, saying that it's embarrassing that they're putting out this statement. Whenever I've seen Howard Webb get interviewed, who is it that's interviewing him? It's Michael Owen. Michael Owen does the interviews with Howard Webb. Maybe I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting 37. But I feel as though the mainstream media puts nowhere near enough pressure upon the referees. When we see these blatant mistakes, we've heard many times on Ref Watch on Sky, the presenters and the pundits in the room will ask a question, and there'll be a very vague, bland, mahogany answer given that makes no sense. For instance, I'll say, what's the difference between the handball that Man United didn't get a penalty from and the handball that Arsenal did get one from? They look the same to us. The answer is often along the lines of, yeah, but for me, they're just not the same. That's not a deep, great insight, but there's no pressure on them. And the one time we saw pressure put on them was Paul Merson. I think it was with Dermot Gallagher. It may not be Dermot Gallagher, somebody else. Anyway, he put pressure on a referee. Forget his name. They all look the same to me. And football fans said, yes, Merce. That's what we want. Proper challenge. When they give you a almost a kind of a sort of cliched, vague answer, you challenge it. So when I see the journalists' names on here, when I see the broadcasters' names on here calling out these statements, part of me thinks they don't want the refereeing to be challenged because they work with these people, they know each other. Secondly, I think I believe they enjoy this drama. And instead of being honest about Arsenal, yes, there's a bit of Arsenal hate, yes, there's a little bit of Arsenal fear, yes, there's a little bit of needle in there, but I think they want to create great telly. I really do.
I've just seen Arsenal put a statement out, and I don't really agree with that. And this happened a few weeks ago, obviously, with Liverpool. I think it was a different set of circumstances in some ways, but I didn't agree really with what Liverpool.
And he did say on Monday Night Football he didn't agree with Liverpool doing it either, which is why with Jamie Carragher, I don't know if it's like Arsenal specific, maybe Arsenal fans think different. But why don't you agree with the statement? Why don't you agree with calling out blatant mistakes?
Put out at the time, and I covered the game last night, and on the back of Mikel Arteta's interview, I said I loved it. And the reason I said that was because I think far too often managers before and after games just speaking cliche.
So you don't like the statement, but you like the manager calling it out. Right now, I am struggling to differentiate between those two things. I'm confused.
And don't really tell us how they feel. And I love the fact that Mikel Arteta was passionate, he was really honest, he was emotional, and it was great TV, and that's why I did love it. I didn't actually agree with what he said.
Did you just hear that? I'm playing it back. I don't know if I heard that right. Hang on. I don't know how far back I've got to go here. Hang on.
And don't really tell us how they feel. And I love the fact that Mikel Arteta was passionate, he was really honest, he was emotional, and it was great TV, and that's why I did love it. I didn't actually agree with what he said.
Didn't agree with the statement, didn't agree with what he said, but loved it because it made great television. There's me sitting here for the last week or so thinking to myself, are we seeing some of these dodgy decisions because it adds a layer of drama to football? And I'm sitting there thinking, look, am I getting a little bit tinfoil hat? Am I getting a little bit conspiratorial? Is that the word? Conspiratorial? That might not even be a word. I might have just made that up. Anyway, is that happening? And then you hear it. Listen, I've got a lot of respect for Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, the work they do. I watch the overlap. I love watching them Monday Night Football. I love their debates. But for me, something smells fishy. The way Michael Owen's defending the referee, the way journalists suddenly, out of nowhere, and TV presenters and pundits are defending the referees, saying to fans and clubs, don't call them out too much. ignoring clear and obvious mistakes that they are making, debating some and not others. When certain people benefit, no debates. When other clubs benefit, it is front page news. When Liverpool get screwed, they get it on Good Morning Britain. If you're not from the UK, that is a huge morning talk show that very rarely has anything to do with sport. Least of all, debates about refereeing decisions. A week later, another team gets robbed. By the way, Wolves, 2 weeks running robbed. Now, I don't cover their games. I cover the top 6 teams. 2 weeks running, robbed. No Good Morning Britain, barely any debates on Sky, nothing on TalkSport, nothing on ESPN, because it doesn't matter. They pick and choose which clubs, which decisions at a time to defend or attack. There is no consistency from them in the exact same way as these referees. And I genuinely believe this right now, that this is a conspiracy. This is corruption, not brown envelopes, no sinister plans. We're going to screw Man United today. We're going to screw Liverpool today. I don't think it is orchestrated like that. I almost think it's, hang on a minute, we've made a mistake here. Oh, this is going to create great drama. Let's go with it. You get the producers from whatever TV channel saying, listen, we need one of you in the studio to disagree with it and be angry, but the other 3, we want you to say you don't think it's a foul, because that creates the drama. If everybody just says, do you know what? That shouldn't have been a goal. Is there the traction? Is there the conversations? Maybe. I want to get your opinions on this, because I think Arsenal have been cheated. And I almost feel what I'm hearing here from Gary Neville, what I'm hearing here from Jamie Carragher, Michael Owen and these journalists is, it's good that Arsenal get cheated. I enjoy that Arsenal get cheated. I like the fact that Arsenal are being cheated. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it down. You know, if Arsenal get a decision go their way in a few weeks, then I'm going to go at the referee. Because what that will do is rile up the Gooners. We know they do it to Man United. We know they do it. When we should have conceded a penalty against Wolves opening day of the season, I condemned it. 4 days of straight debate. On the 3 or 4 penalties since then that Man United have not been awarded, and some of them have been as clear as day. 0 debates, 0 videos, 0 conversations. None. Not one. But that, for me, is purposeful. They do it because they know it will rattle people and we'll talk about it. And that is what they want. Now, I could be completely off with this, and I want to get your views and I want to get your opinions. And I'm not really a conspiracy theory-esque person. I don't believe aliens and lizards run the world. I don't believe in, 5,000 people sized inside job conspiracy theories. I don't believe like 5G is ruining the world. Nothing like that. I don't do any of that. But I do feel like the TV companies are saying, right, we know how successful Towie is. We know how successful Geordie Shore is. We know how successful the X Factor was. Could we take a little bit of that reality TV, that drama, the Kardashian-esque drama, and sprinkle it like Salt Bay over football? Is that going on? Let me know, because for me, some of these comments, some of these opinions are a madness. Hit the like and share button, people. Subscribe, and I'll see you all again soon.